Hey, we got the great Pace Morby in the house, ladies and gentlemen. My God, to get the man, the myth, the legend in Skorch the Fears. Wow, that is pretty incredible. It's a big day for the podcast. It's a big day for Pace too, because he's never been in a place where I'm the leader for once. So it's good.
Jonah's
He's
in
in
charge.
my zone now, out of all the out of all the Zooms I've been on. So you're welcome to the podcast, man. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, bro. I was just telling you right before the show started, I was like, out of everything on my calendar, this is the thing I was looking to the most. I have a lot of really cool things going on this week. So thank you for having me.
I love it. No, it's super cool. I mean, like it's just insane. Like I'm thinking back, just even before I get into the podcast, just thinking back, I had the other day, I was talking to Jamil about this too, about just being like, man, how far like it's been, like just like my relationship with you just in general, like all the Zooms, all the people that I've seen you help, the people that you've let me help basically by being a leader in the SUBTO. So just before we start, thank you, my man. Thank you for being a mentor, great guy.
The good thing about a leader is I don't have to let you do anything. You are a natural born leader. You just do it, and it's been so fun watching you become a different person, evolve into an absolute badass. And then, I mean, you've changed everything about yourself, which is cool. You even live in a new part of the country. You've got a freaking podcast now. I mean, if anybody should have a podcast, it's you. You got stories on stories on stories on stories. I mean, your podcast should be Jonah interviewing Jonah. You know what I'm saying?
That would be wild. I don't know how long I could talk for. I don't know if I could do that. That would be wild. Yeah, man. I mean, you were the one who got me into it from the mastermind nearly a year from this one. I think this is number 49. So like I started it almost a year ago. So yeah, man. I mean, you were the spark. You're the spark to the scorch. So
ooh, I love it.
Something, right?
and shout out to all the people that are watching live. I've got Adriana Rodriguez, who I adore here. So good to see you, Adriana. You're amazing.
Yeah, I love it. So, all right, I got to start it because I'm the leader here. So, Mr. Pace Morby, at one point in time, you were not the great Pace Morby that everyone's like shocked and awed to see you, right? So like what was your greatest fear when starting out?
My greatest fear has never been what I have to do. My greatest fear has always been not doing as much as I possibly can on this earth. I have a fear of missing out. I have a fear of not failure, because I have like no fear of failure. I had a fear of like, oh my gosh, am I ever going to figure this out? Am I ever going to, get anything done? Jonah's having technical difficulties, guys. It's great.
Yeah, I know. It's annoying. Can you hear me?
It's all good. This is what happens in real life podcast, guys. This is what you
I'm just gonna let you talk.
So for me, the biggest fear I've always had, I remember when I was driving down State Street in Utah. I was 8 years old, and I remember hearing my dad say, "Get into real estate. They're not making any more of it." And then I found out later it was actually a famous quote that he was paraphrasing. And I was like, yeah, I got to get into real estate. And then fast forward, my dad owns no real estate. My dad's not into real estate. And my dad basically he filled all these bookshelves. I've actually never answered this. So this is interesting. My dad and my mom have always had some sort of conflict in their marriage, because my dad would go out and buy all these self-help books, like Tony Robbins, the Donald Trumps, the, Sell or Be Sold, and all these kind of books. My dad literally has a library of nothing but self-help books. And my mom is always like, this is so stupid. It fills up our whole house. And my biggest fear was like failing the woman that I marry, that I would learn something and not apply it. Right. And maybe there's some deep seated trauma in the back of my mind of like, if you learn something, you better put it to action, because if your mom's not happy with that, then there's no way another woman's going to be happy with it. And I'm a mama's boy. And so I think I had fear of letting my mother down. And that is where my implementation comes from, so much as I fear disappointing my mom. I fear disappointing my wife. I fear disappointing other people around me. And so that's really where my fear comes from. It's never been about, I'm afraid to call a seller. I'm afraid to do this. I honestly can relate to it because I get nervous around it. Even still to this day, I get nervous. Like I drove to a seller's house today. I don't know why this detail is so important, but it is an important detail. I drove 45 minutes one way and 45 minutes back another way today without any underwear on today.
Nice.
So,
Nice, dude.
I
it.
have no fear of doing anything. I will just get things done. I just don't want to
That's getting
disappoint.
clipped out, by the way. That's getting
Why?
clipped out and showed out. No. Just the part about you
Oh,
driving
yeah.
without your
I
underwear on.
literally spent half my day
We're-
today saving somebody from foreclosure with my balls swinging around and no underwear. So it was
We're turning that
absolutely
into a TikTok
horrendous.
thing. Okay, so then, like, I just want to go back. So you were saying your greatest fear was like learning something and not applying it to your relationship. Was I right about that? Is that what you said?
No, just in general. I watched
Okay.
my mom and my dad's relationship, and I watched my mom make comments about my father to his face, like, well, why are these books taking up this room? Like, this book and that book, and if my mom would say things. She wasn't nagging. My mom was actually, even in a loving way, just trying to like remind my dad, like, hey, maybe you should you read about real estate all the time. Why are you not going out and investing in real estate? My dad bought all our houses that I grew up in subject to seller finance lease options, but my dad never went out and like bought other assets with any of the money. My dad would like hit a point of comfortability, and my dad wasn't broke. Thanks, babe. My dad was never broke. That's for sure. My dad just got to a point where he was comfortable. And then he got to a point where he's like, all right, cool. I'm making a couple $100,000 a year. And he never went beyond that. So that's another fear I have. I'm legitimately so grateful of my father, but I'm also very fearful of ever becoming like my parents and having a life anything like my parents.
I gotcha. So it's interesting because this is something, now that I've done this podcast and asked this question a lot, I've noticed there's two types of fears.
Mm-hmm.
There's the fears, all of your fears sound like this type, and this is why you're so successful. There are fears that are behind you, and then there are fears that are in front of you. So fears that are behind you are the ones that you were talking about, like where there's a fire on your ass, like where it's like, I see my parents, I need to do everything not to become them. So I have to push forward, or I need to, I need to, I have to apply things that I learned. Right. While like the seller ones are fears that are in front of you that are like, uh-oh, now I'm like hitting a wall instead of a fire burning forward. Right. So I'm curious if A, you've thought of that at all, or B, like I'll start with just this, like, how did those fears manifest in a way other than pushing you forward? Did they were there any roadblocks that happened in your business because of those fears?
Oh yeah. Great question. Yeah. I think about that all the time. Like I do have fear. I just have a different type of fear than most people. And I of course I can relate to the nervousness, the anxiety and stuff that people have about whatever, but I'm like, we all know math, right? Like we know 1 + 1 = 2. So we also know not taking action and spending time equals a shitty life, right? So like we already know that. And if 1 + 1 = 2 is so reliable, right? And we can really understand, we know that that's going to spit out a number 2. Like, why do we even have to question that action is something we have to do in order to live that life? So I'm not driven to have a lot of things, or like have the nicest watch or the whatever. I am driven to not be a failure, if that makes sense.
It does, but it's interesting too. Like, why? Like, I get, like, nobody wants to be a failure, but also a lot of people don't have your drive to be that successful. So is it like the trauma from your parents, you think, or what do you think it was, or it is?
That's a good question too. I don't know. I feel like this is a therapy session, which I like. This is good.
That's my point. That's what I do.
I like this. This is really good. Let's think about this. I think that I have an unbelievable drive. The things that get me excited are the things I continue to seek out. So here's what drives me: a thirst for knowing things other people don't know, because I remember what it was like not to know powerful things.
Right.
Right. The thirst to help other people, because I remember what it was like when nobody wanted to help me. The thirst of changing other people's lives, because I remember when people wanted to put their thumbs on me and control me and keep me in a certain position. So when you find that new knowledge and you get the emotional income and the proof of concept of helping other people and how it circles back to you, you want me to give you a really good specific example of how things circle back to you?
Sure.
Really small things. I could go back 10 years, 20 years, 15 years and like really, really get nitty gritty on this. But like, I'm so motivated to help other people because I know it comes around. It's as reliable as 1 + 1 = 2.
It's a law.
It's a law. It is an absolute law. And we all know it. It's just that we're not constantly applying it. So let's do this. I meet Cody Sperber years ago, like 10 years ago. Okay. A long time ago. And I was like, this guy's done a lot for me, even though he's never known me. And so at some point I'll repay the favor, right? Like always give credit where credit is due. And so when Cody, we ultimately ended up becoming friends. That's not what this story is about. Cody asks me, Pace, this is back in September of 2021. Okay. September of 2021. So a year and 3 or 4 months ago. He calls me and he goes, hey man, can you come to one of my events and speak all about creative finance and be on a panel and do all this kind of stuff? I go, yeah, I'd love to. And he's like, really? I go, yeah. And I'm like, why you act surprised? He's like, cause I know you're busy. I'm like, bro, you have done so much for me. Let me do whatever I possibly can, even if it's like this little thing. And I show up, I do my thing on stage, but like, that's never really where I serve the most. I mean, I do well on stage, but I go in behind the scenes and I talk to people in the hallway and I become friends with people in Cody Sperber's world. And I spend the whole time propping up Cody Sperber. Like, wow, you guys are lucky to be here. This is amazing. Cody, isn't Cody great? All the things. And what ends up happening is Cody goes, dude, do you want to speak at Thrive? I go, yeah, go to Thrive. Do the same thing there. I make friends with all of their people. I prop him and Cole Hatter up and I prop, compliment. I'm so good at compliments because I see the good in every single person and all the little itty bitty things. And I'm just hanging out with people in the thing and they get really good feedback. Then Sperber calls me and he goes, hey man, you want to headline at Clever Summit? I go, yes, I'd love to. And then what do? I bring a massive amount of people to Clever Summit. We turn it into the SUBTO Summit, basically.
Yeah.
Have the greatest time of all time, bring tons of value to him. And because of that, Cody then introduces me to a guy who introduces me to a guy who then puts me in a situation where today I'm making, I think this month from being involved in those guys, like that Cody introduced me to, I'm just from that one relationship, I made like $500,000 this month, just from that one relationship. Last month it was like 480. The month before that was like 425. It's like, I'll make $5-6 million this year just because of people that Cody Sperber introduced me to, because of the law of reciprocity of giving, and people feel compelled to give back to you. And I would have never, ever thought that was an opportunity. And it just comes back. If I sat down and explained to you 25 things I have going on in my life, it all started not with me going, all right, I got a business idea. Let me write down a business idea. Literally every dollar I make every single day comes from me going, let's create a list of people that I can serve and somehow I can provide value to them and make them look good. Here's another example. I meet Vina Jetty through Cody Sperber from Clever Summit. I go to Vina Jetty. I go, how can I make you look amazing? How can I give you props? So like even this last week, I spent 40 grand. I know maybe you don't care about this stuff, but this is stuff that's like fresh on my mind. I spend 40 grand getting a bunch of my elite investors together, their flights, their hotels, limousine, dinners, all that kind of stuff. And I put a multifamily masterclass on for my elite investors, like people that invest a lot of money in me. They were just over the moon over the whole thing. We just had such the greatest time spending time together in Dallas for the last 2-3 days. But what was I really doing there? I was giving them value. Yes. Hanging out with them, developing relationships. But really what I did is I put together a multifamily masterclass, and my team, I flew my team out. We recorded it, and my whole team will chop it up, put it together for, and go, here you go. Here's a masterclass that you can give away for free to people on your social media, your YouTube, your Facebook group, or whatever. That basically is worth like a $15,000 mastermind. And she was just, why would you do this? Why would you do this? I go, because it's the law, right? It's the law. I know this will show up in a massive way. I just don't know where it will show up. And she, look on her social media. She's like over the moon about like these people have put me in a position to win. They called me a winner before I was winning. And it's just the coolest thing ever. And that is one of the things that drives me. The emotional income of seeing people change their lives and elevate to another level. This week I put Carolyn on stage in front of 400 people in Dallas. I text her, I go, you're going to be on stage tonight. I'm taking part of my time away to put you on stage. I did the same thing for Alejandro Alvarez, and I'll do the same thing for you, Jonah, because I'm like, I get such strong emotional income from seeing you guys win. So like, that's what motivates me all day, every day.
I love it. So I got a question for you though, because I know your story. I don't like people. We could like you have so much content on this already. Like with, I think you call him Voldemort. Like people who've used you when you've had this type of attitude. And I think it might be a question you've gotten before, but I've never heard it because I already know. Because I'm thinking for people not like you, there are certain people who are go-givers. I'd consider myself one. You're obviously one, right? Yeah. Where like it's just kind of natural to them. But there are moments where you get used. And so I'm curious on that sense of, I have two questions for you. One is, do you always give always? Or do you have some differentiating factors? And then let's start with there. I don't want to
the filter is give first. The filter is give first, let them filter themselves out. Okay. Voldemort was the greatest lesson in terms of my giving personality that I had to learn. I had to learn that just because I'm giving to somebody doesn't mean they're going to get back to me.
Right.
And he did give me a valuable lesson that I moved on with, but dude, I'll give you a good like example of stuff that happens to me all the time. I get people that, they will ask me to speak on stage for them because they know that I draw a good sized crowd, right? I fill seats, and they will have me come out, and then why do they do that? Now I'm on stage. So what are they doing? They're trying to sell a product, right? So they use my face to sell some product that they have, 25 grand, 30 grand, or whatever it is. Bro, I don't want to get paid on their product because I don't want to be involved in their fulfillment or the brand. I don't want to be involved in their stuff because I don't have any control over their fulfillment. But you don't even get as much as a text message from half these people after you just bring 500, 700 people. I just spoke in another state. I won't name it because somebody will pinpoint it and they'll text these people. Bro, I haven't gotten a text or a call from the people. I got a standing ovation in that room. I've never had a standing ovation
in every room.
No. I mean, you get people that like cheer for me coming in, but like a standing ovation to the point where it's like, get back on stage. What do they call that? Get back on stage. Encore. I got an encore. Yeah. These guys don't even text you and say, thank you for spending 3 days away from your family and friends. All they do is they look at you as a cardboard cutout. So I go, okay, I'm going to use your brand and your face and your this and your reputation and everything. And I'm going to steal the value from it. Go charge these people $30,000, make all the money, and then forget you even did that for me and not even send you a fudging text message.
So how do you stay positive with that? I'm curious because like that could get pretty annoying. I mean, you obviously have given so much that it gets back to you anyways, but how do you stay positive? And I'm speaking for the people who haven't given yet, right? Because the person who thinks this stuff, I think, would be someone who hasn't tried out the law yet. But I am curious because there are moments, even with me, much smaller examples, where it's like, all right, I spent 10 minutes on the phone with you, Mr. New Person, and then I never hear from them again. So how do you
filter it?
How do you not get filter / not get any down and just be like, whatever, that's them. I'm not going to let it affect me.
Okay, so here's a good example. This is a great question. This is a great question. Okay, so first and foremost, how do I not get down when somebody takes advantage of me? You want to know how? Like specifically when I speak on stage and somebody doesn't thank me for like bringing a massive crowd, because there's a lot of ungrateful people that you guys see as on brands. They seem so amazing on stage and they seem so amazing on their social media, but then when you get behind the green room and you get into like parties with them, you're just like, wow, you are a blood sucking, money hungry, you don't care about anybody type of person. And here's how I stay positive. I look at every speaking engagement as an opportunity to do what? You won't guess it.
Okay. Well, my guess is, let's give my guesses anyways. My guesses would be to meet the other speakers who aren't, maybe might be still something you could make money with, and or keep growing your own audience. Those are my two
really
guesses.
like that guess. That's like, I would say that's number 2, maybe number 3. What I would say is number 1 every single time is an opportunity for me to do my own meetup that night or the night before with my own students and get to know my students. I get so
Those
jazzed.
are fun.
Like, for example, I was at this multifamily event not too long ago, really great event. And they had Vanilla Ice in the VIP thing and, you know, Ryan Serhant and all these like really cool big names. And I chose to do the freaking SUBTO meetup instead. I do it all the time. They're like, where were you last night? I'm like, I'm with my people. And so I look at these in speaking engagements actually not as an opportunity to speak, but as a way to get in front of my SUBTO students and what I would consider our family, our SUBTO family that you've been such an amazing, gracious go-giver inside of. Any opportunity I can spend with them, I will take that opportunity.
Yeah, it's pretty fun too. Like, I mean, we were hanging out in Atlanta, and I saw you in Phoenix really recently, but the Atlanta SUBTO meetup was fun. It was cool. It was like, I mean, you're also like a celebrity there too. Like, I bet that, I mean, I don't know if that boosts your ego at all, but like, I see you, it's like, oh, he's getting rushed by the crowd type of thing. But
that's been going on for a long time. Like well before I was a coach, well before I was whatever. When you take these paradigm shifts that you go through and you condense them, like think about this. You could do this easily now, Jonah. Think about all the things that took you 6 months, 4 months, 5 months, whatever amount of years to learn these little tidbits, like how to pull a list, how to call a seller, how to negotiate, how to fill out paperwork, all these things that like some people will stress out about how to fill out paperwork for 6 months before they feel comfortable with it. So if you get really good at teaching people and you can condense that knowledge from 6 months to 6 days, people really adore you because the grateful, amazing human beings, they recognize what you and I recognize, right? Which is every single day is worth billions of dollars, really, if you think about it. And I always use this analogy of like, let's say I'm dying. I'm on my deathbed. I'm about to die. I can hear the heart monitor slowing down. People in the room are all these loved ones, and I'm 98 years old, whatever. And I'm like, man, if I could just have one more day, if I could just have one more day. And some guy comes in, he goes, hey, I'll give you this magic, potion to get one more day back. He starts handing it to me and he goes, oh, hold on. But what would you pay for it? What would your answer be? Your answer would be everything. I will pay everything for one more day back. And so when somebody says that and they truly understand the power of every day that you have on this earth and that you were able to save them 4 months of those days or 6 years of those days or whatever. I just met a student in Springfield yesterday. He made a goal. He joined SUBTO in February. He goes, I'm going to make a goal to buy 4 rentals every single year via SUBTO, seller finance, whatever. He bought 20 this year.
Right.
And he had his wife, his kid drive like, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours to come see me. And he goes, I had to personally thank you and like to your face. So I'm not famous. I'm not famous. What I am is I'm an emotion that people feel when somebody can condense a learning curve down so tightly and deliver it to them. They just are there to thank that learning process and realize like that's the thing that changed their life. So I don't look at myself as a celebrity. I look at myself as just a dude that's really gotten his balls kicked in so many times that he's gotten better at teaching and teaching and teaching to the point where I can condense things down. And people are like, you saved me 6 years of my life, 5 years of my life. And they want to thank this teaching process that I have.
I love it. So let's go back a little bit because I'm curious about this, right? Because you weren't always a teacher. At one point, you didn't have SUBTO. I mean, like you had been doing real estate investing for quite some time before it. Like, what convinced you to do that? And was anything holding you back? And I'm asking this personally because I've had people being like, man, can you mentor me? Right.
Yeah.
And my initial response is like, no, I don't have time to mentor you. Right. Like, honestly, like that's what I have because like a little bit is personal is being like, okay, I can't spend 30 minutes on the phone with everyone. I've been thinking about doing something for other people, maybe making a course, but I want to hear your story also so that I can see where I might want to go because I've had people like part of me is like, damn, maybe I should just make a mentorship so that I have somewhere to send people. I'm just curious, what was your story? Was it something similar or like what's the origin story of SUBTO?
Here's the thing. People don't watch courses. Courses are for horses.
Was about to say something else.
It's just a bunch of horse shit. Courses are horse shit. Nobody cares about courses. Okay. You ask any SUBTO student, what's the value of SUBTO? It ain't the course.
Of course.
Okay.
Half of them didn't do it.
Most of them don't do it.
I did it. I'm a course guy, but
okay. Most of them don't do the course. What do they really value? We all value connectivity to another human being that's actually going to show us along the way. So I personally believe that the reason why SUBTO is the greatest community and Astro is really, really close behind us is because Jamil and I had a vision from the very beginning that did not have coaching involved. I'll give you a story. So this hat, ironically, I'm wearing today with you. This hat, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, Jamil and we've been coaches 2.5 years. That's it. Right. 5-6 years ago, Jamil and I were collaborating, doing a lot of stuff together. And Jamil goes, man, we're traveling around. We're helping people. We're going to these speaking engagements and doing all this stuff. We should like formalize this. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, let's call it something and let's go on tour. And we called it Pace and Jamil Do America. This hat is 6 years old. And we called it Pace and Jamil Do America. We had one goal. And the goal was to show people that Pace and Jamil know how to collaborate with each other, even though they're competitors. So we spent, I think this is like 2017, we spent like 80 grand each flying around the country. And we would go to these RIAs. Okay. We'd go to like RIAs, we go to whatever, wherever people would have us. Right. And I remember we had this guy named Zach. Shout out Zach Weist. Okay. Zach Weist. Good, great guy. He picks us up in his like really beautiful car from the airport. And he's like, all right, guys, so we're going to do this thing. I got like 300 people showing up to see you guys. This is years before we became a coach. And he goes, what are you guys going to charge for? Let's come up. What product are you going to push? And I was like, what? Huh? People do that? And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And it was really interesting. We left that RIA really thinking about like, do we want to be coaches? And the answer was absolutely not. We don't want to be coaches. I don't want to sell things. Like I already know how to do real estate. Why do I need to sell knowledge on real estate? And so here's what ended up happening. I continued to go around the country. Even when Jamil was too busy or whatever, I would go around the country and I would speak and I would do whatever. Like just this last 5 days, I was running around the country by myself. Jamil wasn't with me because sometimes we're not together. What do you want to eat? Okay, got it. Sorry, my daughter wants the nap. She doesn't want a napkin from the bathroom. She wants me to open up this so she can take the napkin out of it. Love it. So we're all over the country. I was doing this thing 5-6 years ago where I was driving people around in my Prius on weekends, helping them out. Right? You've heard this story. And
Circle K.
Brent Daniels comes to me. He's like, dude, what the hell are you doing? Who do you think you're actually helping? You're not helping anybody. And he then tells me like, come to Florida, come meet with me, Tom Kroll, Chris Arnold, and a handful of other like influencer guys that sell products. And I was like, it's not my thing, Brent. Like, honestly, I'm doing great in real estate. I'm well known here. People are starting to know me nationwide. I just want to do JV deals, right? And I was like, Brent was a friend of mine. So I went, and it opened my eyes to a lot of things, mostly things I don't want to do. Okay. I never want to have a conversation about how do I fill a funnel for people to pay me to coach. I never wanted to ever have that feeling in my life. I don't want to sell a product. Oh my gosh. You're okay. So I never wanted to sell a product ever. Right. So I repelled against it. And then what ended up happening is I meet Josiah. Okay. Josiah is my partner. You guys don't know about. You know Josiah because he's a partner.
I know Josiah.
Kegley. And so Josiah comes to me and he goes, dude, you really should be a coach. You're one of the greatest storytellers. You're one of the greatest teachers. Like, we watch what you're doing. You've got a brand, like you've got a golden brand. This is like years ago, right? And I go, no, I'm good, man. Like, if I was ever going to be a coach, it would have to consist of like 50 things. And he goes, well, what are those 50 things? And I was like, I guess I was an exaggeration. I don't have 50 things. And he goes, well, write them down. What would make you happy to be a coach? And I go, okay, one, I don't want to be a coach. I want to build a community of people. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I created this big old laundry list of things. And it took a meeting with Josiah and our other partner that nobody knows. His name is Nick Fisher. Nobody knows Nick Fisher. He's our other partner. He's there, like, so behind the scenes. And then one of the things I said is, I go, I just want to be Elton John, man. I want to write the songs. I want to be with the people. I want to create the energy. I want to be the songwriter. I want to prop people up, and I want to change their lives. I want to turn leaders into, and half of what I told them, they were like, nobody's doing this. This isn't possible. It's not physically possible. Blah, 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 blah. I go, I want a mentorship that never ends. I want to, if somebody's going to, and I'm like, more importantly, I want a mentorship that doesn't pay me any money. And they were like, what? And I go, I think a mentorship done right. Now, here's an interesting conversation. I'm going to pretend like nobody's here, okay? Here's the problem. Because I've had people that wonder this, like, well, if you really just wanted to help people, couldn't you have just done this for free? No.
Yeah, I know the answer to this one.
Impossible. Jonah, you're part of Masterminds. Can you not agree that the more Masterminds or even the higher level money you spend, the better the quality people are?
It literally, that's the whole purpose of it. That's the reason why you spend the money, is to filter out the people. That's literally, in my opinion, the whole point of spending 40K on a mastermind, is to be around people who can spend 40K on a mastermind. That's like the entire purpose. For SUBTO too, like, it's not 40K, but it's also people just don't care about things that they get for free. Like,
yes.
It's something about psychologically where, like, once you have to pay for something for you to value it at all. If SUBTO was free, then nobody would care.
Nobody would care. It would attract the free crowd. And then also, we couldn't afford to pay 50. I think we have 55 employees at SUBTO that support SUBTO, which is bonkers to even think about. And so, like, I go, I want all these things and I don't want to be paid for it. And they're like, well, how are you going to make money? I'm like, I'm going to make money by putting deals together, bringing my education that I'm going, I spent $150,000 in multifamily education the last 3 years. I'm part of Masterminds right now in multifamily. And you guys are starting to see me talk a lot more about multifamily as I get more and more into multifamily. And I bring that back to my SUBTO students, which ultimately brings more deals to me. We raise money together. We do deals together. Like, my elite investors, all of them are SUBTO students.
Right.
I create an environment where everybody wins together, and I do get paid. I make more money from my mentorship than any mentor makes from their mentorships, and they actually take the money. My partners, Josiah and Nick, were set up strategically to take the money.
Right.
Intentionally. And I make more money than them.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, how I see it, like, in my opinion, SUBTO, like, the power of having literally, like, at least 50, probably more plus people in every single city who are, like, badass real estate investors who you can, like, hang out with and, like, do deals with and then refer other people to. Like, just that power in and of itself, let alone even if there were no JV deals, which obviously there are going to be, that in of itself, you can, like, I can see how you can utilize that in 15,000 different ways because you give so much. I absolutely love it. So my question to you also is like, because this is something I've heard you talk about a lot, is like your fear of you not being good enough, right? That's like a
Oh
very
yeah.
common one for super successful people. Are you over that? Do you still deal with that? And is it something that's a constant struggle? Is it something that you eventually were just like, screw it? Like what? Tell me about that.
That's an interesting conversation. I can tell you I've never been successful on my own. I can't do anything on my own, right? So I already know that.
Mm-hmm.
I already know that I can't do anything on my own. When you're young, you believe you can. And then you get older and you realize, holy crap, I've never made $1 in my life without another human being. Like literally, right. It's physically impossible. So the difference is the quality of the human beings and the quantity of those quality human beings, and getting around as many of them as you possibly can. And so once I figured that out, I have zero fear. I have zero fear of not being good enough, because now I just stand next to the person that is good enough and I automatically become good enough. It's the weirdest thing. Okay. So like multifamily, why do you think I'm spending all this time with Tim Bratz, Brandon Turner, Vina Jetty, Brad Sumrock? I'm spending all my time and energy around these guys. I'm flying around. I literally spent 50 grand to get other people to be in the room with Vina Jetty the last couple of days, so I could be in the room with Vina Jetty the last couple of days. Right. And so I'm like, I have no fear, because I know that I can put myself in a room that ultimately her vibe, Brandon's vibe, Tim Brott's vibe, it all rubs off on me, and I become a small aggregation of all of those human beings. How can you be fearful when that is also a law of nature?
I love it. Let's go back a little bit then. I want to take you back to before, because I feel like you might disagree with me, and you can tell me if you disagree with me, but I feel like that's a lot easier with SUBTO now that you've grown it. I feel like being able to get those people and spend 50K to be the like get all those people together. How about before you have all that?
I've always done that.
Okay. So give an example of being able to get around, because you're saying that getting around bigger people, right, is what's giving you that confidence. How would, and this was going to be one of my questions anyway, how would
great question.
Freaking just starting out?
Ryan and Jason. Okay. I saw these guys, Ryan Chenoweth, shout out Ryan Chenoweth. He'll never watch this because he's like anti-social media, but Ryan Chenoweth, Jason, these dudes were beasts at closing. Like, you guys, so good at closing, like unbelievably good at closing. This is 7, 8, 9 years ago. I was like, I need to be a better closer. So I literally go, let me just go into your appointments with you. And they were like, well, that doesn't. So I was in Homevestors, right? And so Homevestors is like kind of the anti-collaboration business. Mm-hmm. And they don't want people collaborating with each other. These people are horrible human beings. But I got Jason and Ryan Chenoweth to really spend time with me, because what I told them is, I go, look, here's what I'll do. I will do a deal and I will pay you half of my deal that I dispo, or I'll sell it to you, or whatever. I just want to be in the room. I won't say anything. I just want to watch. And I got around these people. And there's two things that I learned. Ryan Chenoweth has the worst stutter you will ever hear. Chuck, one of our SUBTO students, has a stutter like no other. No, he has a stutter like no other. Okay. But he crushes it. Chuck is really good on the phone. I'm proud of him. Ryan Chenoweth is the greatest closer I've ever seen in my life. And he has the worst stutter I've ever heard. And I learned so much by going to 3 appointments with him. That's all he let me. He's 3 appointments. Pace, I'll promise you 3 appointments. Gave me 3 appointments, and I sat there. And the number one thing I learned from Ryan was utilize your own skills, who you are, and lean into yourself.
Right.
Right. So Ryan, nothing against it, but this is what Ryan did. Ryan amplified his stutter as he went into seller appointments. Why do you think he did that, Jonah?
That's interesting. This makes me want to think about it because I love psychology of things like that because it was more him and people like the real you. That's my
Yes.
guess.
It's why when people from Texas meet with people that are not from Texas, they amplify the Texas drawl and the y'all and the all the things. It's because people find it endearing. And so I learned that from Ryan. Being around Ryan, I'm like, okay, I need to find the things that are natural to me, but just turn the volume up on them a little bit. And I learned that from Ryan. And then the other thing I learned from Jason. Oh my gosh, David.
Is that you or is that me?
What?
Oh, never mind. No, keep going.
Oh, is it the sound of a cartoon?
No, I think it's my phone. Keep going.
Okay, got it. So you get people like Ryan that amplify what they're really good at. And then Jason, I watched him mirror every seller like he was holding up a mirror in front of that seller. He was so good at mirroring. It was freaking stupid. It was so obvious to me because I'm watching it, right? I'm sitting in there in the appointment. And you know these appointments, like you go on do you go on much appointments, Jonah, or not really?
I used to back, I mainly do direct to agent now, but back in the day, I did direct to seller. I did direct to seller for about a year, and I did some in seller.
So you went some appointments. Okay. So you know these people a lot of times are living some really dingy lives. They're just making really bad decisions.
I have some stories.
And they're like some of the worst houses ever, right?
Yeah.
Cody Barton, my partner, this is one of my favorite things he ever did. We go into the worst house on the planet. The worst house. There's dog crap on the back patio to the point where there's so much poo you can't see the freaking concrete. We go inside, everything's covered in cat poo, and there's like black widows, and there's all this stuff all over the house. Like you feel like you're walking through a horror movie. And the ladies are like, please sit down. And you look down, like the couches are all smeared with dog crap. Like there's dogs everywhere.
Yeah.
And I sit down as if there's no dog crap, because that's what I do, right?
Because you're gross. No, I'm kidding.
Because I'm gross, but I'm also mirroring them. I'm like, y'all like dog crap? I like dog crap, and I'm gonna make $100,000 on this dog crap, right?
You're right.
Cody goes, "Can I get a newspaper? Do you guys have a newspaper?" And they go, "Sure." And they were confused, and he takes his time.
Oh, that's insulting almost.
He unravels the newspaper and puts it down on the couch and sits on it.
That's really bad.
And I was like, this will be the last time you go to an appointment with me in your life.
That's like insulting. Like you just like get the newspaper out, put it on the couch.
That's what I learned from Ryan. Like Ryan was like, lean into who these people are. Like he would go to a point where he went into an appointment. I noticed the most interesting things. People would come in, and, the seller would answer the phone or answer the house with their hat, like kind of sometimes when sun's not in your face anymore, you just kind of put your hat up like this, and you just kind of put it on the back of your head. Jason would even change his hat to match the position of the hat the seller had. He would cross the legs, do the things, like everything you can imagine. Jason was so good at mirroring. And I just was like, all right, cool. I saw how you do it. And now when I mirror sellers and you guys see me do it, I was like, I learned that from Jason. Every little thing I am good at, I have absorbed from another high-level human being. And people, and I would argue that my relationship with Ryan Chenoweth and Jason, and I could go on with Clint Shipp and other amazing human beings that I met back in the early days, I could argue that these people were more impactful in my journey than anybody's been in the last 5 years.
Interesting. Why is that? Is it because it was when you were newer? Because it was like the beginning? Because
$0 to $1,000 is an infinite growth, man. I mean, 0 to something is like crazy. 1,000 to 10,000. What would you rather have if you're broke? A skill and
I would rather
proof of concept, or be hanging out with cool people? Like some of the people I hang out with now, like I hang out with some pretty cool people. You guys see me with some pretty cool people, but dude, they're just other cool people. Not all of them necessarily change or impact my life. And some of them are just on a wavelength of, I just want to sell more product. And for me, I'm like, I want to go into the rooms and find the people who are actually changing the game and doing things, because It's the Ryan Chenoweths and the Jasons of the world and the Clint Ships who I originally came up with, that I was like, you actually changed my life. You changed other people's lives. You're amazing. You're a maverick. I want to be around you. So, you see other people doing cool stuff around me, and I'm lucky to be in those rooms. But again, I'm going to argue, in the very beginning stages, the people that like made me become who I was 5 years ago, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, way more impactful than hanging out with Grant Cardone the last 2 years. We hung out 25 times or whatever, or being able to text Elena Cardone whenever I want, or Grant or Pete Vargas, or dude, you tell me right now, I would have to give up one relationship in my life and what it meant to me and how it built me. Ryan Chenoweth or Grant Cardone, who am I picking? Ryan Chenoweth, the guy who has the worst stutter on planet Earth. There's no way that human being's leaving my history.
It makes sense 100%. I mean, like, I think about it, like, I'm 100% going places too, or like I'm planning on it, but like there will be nobody like you or Jamil. Like, there's literally impossible, like, of like what you guys brought me from 0 to what I am now, which is like doing hundreds of thousands, right? Like a year. So I get what you mean. So this was a question I was going to ask. It sounds like you kind of answered it. I was curious, like, when somebody should look for a mentor. Sounds like it says immediately. Like, if you're willing to do this, like, find some sort of mentor immediately.
Bro, I begged somebody today to send me a link for $100,000 mentorship for 1 year. I'll show you the text message. I was like, yo, dude, I reached out to your team, bro. Where's the freaking link?
Wait, why? Why do you want to, why are you still doing, that's interesting to me. Why are you, Mr. Pace Morby, still looking to get into mentorships? That's like an interesting thing, I think, for a lot of people, because like so many people look up to you. It's like, what does Pace not know? Like, what do you, like, what? So like, answer that. Like, why are you still looking for mentorships?
Okay, so let me pull this up. This literally was like a couple of days ago. I can't share. I can. Maybe you'll let me.
I can let you. Hold on.
You will. You'll let me.
I just need to figure it out. Hold on a second.
Boom. Right there. You got to pop it on the screen.
Oh, there we go. There you go.
Okay, so here's a text thread. I'll show you exactly who it is. Holton Bugs. I said, good morning. To ask, need a link for the one mastermind. Do you have any recommendations for trust tax situations? I'm looking to build a new structure. So I've got this new idea for some content around competing structures. Don't worry about this. I'm going to compete one guy with another guy, and I'm going to create some really cool content in 2023. Cool. And then he's like, please connect with Anna. I was like, okay, great. Really appreciate you. Anna hasn't replied. I'll try a few more times. Right. And I'm asking a guy to send me a link to give him $100,000.
That's really funny.
It's because the people in the room that he puts together, the minimum amount of money they make every year is $10 million. He filters at a higher level. The conversations are different. They're not even remotely close. You'll never hear somebody complain about their neighbor. You'll never hear somebody complain about their wife. You'll never hear somebody use the word, I'm disappointed, I'm frustrated, I'm this. It's literally all the golden flow of creation. Everybody's in the room to be like, why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? Here's what I did this year. Here's what I did that year. Blah, 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 blah. It's like all these creators coming into one space. And Holton Bugs is like, yo, how do I get these people all together? And we go do $1 billion in business with all these collective minds. And just being around that energy, you're like, 1, it's okay to be a dreamer, right? 2, you should be a requirement. And 3, I don't have all the answers. These guys do.
Right.
I can literally say, again, I told you, I think at the beginning, I was like, dude, I got one relationship. Cody Sperber led me into that room.
Right.
He didn't know he led me into that room, but he led me into that room. He led me into a room that led me into a room that led me into a room that led me into there. And so that's my job. I'm just going to open up all the doors. And for me, like I'm trying to leave all the doors open for my SUBTO students to just follow behind me if they're choosing to do so. Right? You're one of them. Get in the right rooms, be around the right people, ask the right questions, And people will go, all right, here's the answer. Right. So yes, 100%. Next year, I bet you next year I will spend $500,000 in just education, getting in the right rooms. The one mastermind is actually not about education at all. It's $100,000 plus airfare, plus accommodations, plus I'll spend, it's probably another 50 grand.
Right.
But again, the equivalent of $150,000 mastermind to me today is what maybe would have been a $1,500 JV split with somebody 10 years ago. It was just as hurtful to give up $1,500 then as it is to give up $150,000 now. It does not matter to me. You could shoot me in the head today. I could have a zero bank account. It does not matter. I am so freaking driven. I don't care. It's not about the money. The money's the tool to get to the next place to go. Have you ever played a video game, Jonah?
Yes.
Have you ever played like Zelda? You ever played Link?
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild?
I don't know if I played that one. Is that the really old one? Is that the
No, it's like the newer one. It's like the dope one.
Oh no, I haven't played video games in a while.
Okay, so anyway, I feel like everything's a video game for me. It's like, okay, this is crazy. People spend more time creating their character in a video game than they do customizing their own shit. It's crazy to me. So I look at myself as a video game. I'm like, am I okay with the way I dress? Am I okay with the way I appear? Am I okay with my beard? Am I okay with these things? Because these things matter. They do truly matter. Okay, great. Where do I want to go? How many kids do I want to have? Okay, I'm going to plan all this stuff. All right, I'm going to go get it. It's crazy, but it truly is that simple. And my fear is, like you said, behind me. It's not in front of me. My fear is behind me, not in front of me.
I love it. And it's also like, because I keep saying these on every episode, because like I think there's two motivations for success. I don't know if I definitely got this from somewhere. I didn't just come up with this, but you need desperation and inspiration. I think it's good to have both, but you really need desperation. Desperation is the one that's like on your back, that's like forcing you to keep going. Inspiration is good too, in the sense of seeing someone like you, Pace, or somebody who's like way ahead of you, of being like, man, I really want to get there. I want to do great things with my life. I want to be Zelda in real life. I don't want to be I don't just want it to be in the video game. I want to be the hero of my journey. That, I think, is what most people think gets people there. In my opinion, it's more the fears. I don't know what you think of this. I'm curious of your opinion on this. And this might just be a projection of me, of like, I definitely have that inspiration, but I don't know, like my own fears of like not being able to retire my family, or not being able to, give as much as I want to give to the world, in the sense of like money and donations, and eventually, and now I'm starting to also get addicted to helping others. I've seen, like, there's nothing quite like getting someone their first deal at this point for me. Like, that's the only way I can relive myself getting that first deal. I'm curious, what do you think? Have you thought about those?
Like, the desperation and inspiration all day long, bro. Yeah. For me, inspiration is the permission that we need to move forward, right? So I look at a Steve Trang. He's like, I started a bank, or I did a title company. I'm like, damn, who told you that? He's like, nobody. I just did it. And I was like, oh, okay. So we have permission. This is like what we should be doing. He's like, yep, this is what we should be doing. 2 months later, I have a title company.
Right.
Right. For me, inspiration is not just inspiration. This is so great. My daughter's yelling at me saying, my dad, I did poop.
I love it. That's inspiration right there. That's it right there. You know, like, just like getting over the fear of going to the toilet, and then having the inspiration to be able to do it one day. Right. I love it. All right. While he's doing that, until he comes back, I'm going to look at some of these comments. All right, there we go.
I'm back.
Okay.
Yeah. So dude, you have to be inspired, but at the end of the day, like, I've been desperate before. I wrote a suicide letter to my brother when I was 24 years old. I was going through like a really, really tough time, like maybe a year before I met Laura, and maybe 2 years before I met Laura. My brother hung himself. My business fell apart because of 2008, lost everything that I built. I went through a divorce, did all the things, right? Went through all the thing. And I remember laying down next to a fire, writing like a suicide note to myself or to my brother. Like, I love you. This is the last time I'm going to write. And then I had this whole plan that I was going to drive this little car I was driving. I was going to drive this car directly into a semi truck driver's truck head on, like he's going the other way. Right. And I was going to boom, just kill myself. Cause I'm like, he won't die. I will. And it'll be fine. And I'll be out of this situation. And it was just so dumb.
Right.
And honestly, the thing that shook me loose was my mom. I was just going through something. My mom just knew it. She sensed something in the world. She reached out to me and she's just like, I love you. Come see me and come talk to me. I was like, okay. And my mom like recorrected me or whatever it was. Like, we've all been through that stuff. We've all had these really horrible thoughts to a certain degree, but what does it really show you? It shows you that you're lacking a skill to provide a value to your own life. Okay. So like skills, what are some of the skills I have? Holy shiznit. I got skills. I got so many skills. It's ridiculous. So can I raise money? Yes. Can I close deals? Yes. Can I find opportunities? Yes. Can I network? Yes. Can I do this? Can I see opportunities other people who don't see? Yeah, but those things took a while to compound, right? So I had to be inspired by people to take action, and I had to be continually motivated to stay in that action through desperation. And so I think that 100%, both of those are 100% correct.
So I want to do this too. This is like a question I like asking because I think everyone's gone through some sort of hell, right? Like, you don't know my story. My story was right before I had, right before I started doing real estate investing, I had a manic episode. So like, I was going through some really hard mental health issues. I was like not doing well on all sorts of medications, like just not going through it at all well. And I don't know, but like, having been there, starting to get out of it, being lost, and then going through it, but then having that as like a source of like, I don't want to go back there. I think that's almost 100, like maybe like 80% of my success. And I can get into how I got out of it, but I'm curious because yours sounds like true hell. That sounds like true hell. Would you say divorce? Your brother just killed himself. Your business is completely gone. Like, I don't even think I've gone through a hell like that. So I'm curious, like, how does one get out of hell, Pace? I don't know if that's a hard question to answer, but
it's so interesting to think about. The real honest answer is that somebody gave me an opportunity. That's the honest answer. Nothing clicked for me, right? It wasn't like somebody came to me and was like, or I'm sorry, it wasn't like I went out, read a book, solved the problem internally.
Right.
That's not what happened. What happened was somebody came to me and helped me. Again, it's like, why do I help so many people? Well, because I remember what it was like when I didn't have help. And I remember what it was like when somebody did help me. You know what my problem is? My problem is I have a freaking wonderful memory. I remember all of the emotions I went through when I had this horrible, tumultuous situation. I remember those emotions like scarred inside my brain. And so I can never forget the desperation I felt when nobody was around, to the point where I was willing to write a suicide letter. But what happened is somebody came to me and they said, hey, I need this or I need that, and here's an opportunity.
Was it your mom? Wait, who was it?
It was a guy named Steve came to me. It ended up being a dog shit opportunity, but it built me up. But here's the point. It built momentum in the appropriate direction rather than pulling me back. Right. And through that momentum of going down the hallway of life, I had other doors I was passing by. And I was able to open up other doors that led down another thing in a corridor that led to a ballroom that led to this. And I'm like, holy crap, I made it out. And none of it was me. None of it was me. It was somebody else coming to me with an opportunity and saying, hey, let's do this. And they basically saved my life. And so again, why do I want to help so many people? Because I have a good memory. And my memory reminds me that there was a time not too long ago that I was in a desperate situation with a lack of opportunity, and somebody came along, wherever that came from, the universe, God, my mom called them and told them to come see me. I don't know, but they gave me an opportunity and they say, here you go. And here's what the opportunity was. Dixon Golf. It was like right before Dixon Golf, a year and a half before Dixon Golf. A lot of people don't know I own a golf company that was doing a lot of business. I was like the official sponsor of the PGA Tour and all this kind of stuff. Really great 3-year story of my life from like 24 to 27. And great story, cool, whatever. But right before that is when I was going through all that crap, and somebody came to me and goes, hey, I found this golf company and they need somebody to raise money for them. And you seem like you know how to talk to people. You want to come help me raise money? I go, golf? I don't even have a golf club. And so like we ended up here's what we did. We went to Dixon Golf, me and Steve, and I still own 10% of the company to this day, but this is what we did. We ended up going, all right, well, we're going to talk to Dane and William, who are the current owners with us at Dixon Golf. And we're going to say we need 51% of this business, and we'll go raise the money and blow this thing up, and we'll go do whatever. And it was a lot of fun. For 3 years, I was like good friends with Don Cheadle, Josh Dumel, who is Fergie's ex-husband, like really good friends with these people because golf, right? Yanni was sponsored by my golf company. Don Cheadle was sponsored by my golf company. And this came from the thing that Steve was like, let's go raise money. So I went and raised money for this thing, and I learned how to talk to people about raising capital, and I learned a skill. That was the thing. The skill of raising capital is what saved me and moved me in the right direction. And ultimately, that opportunity did not work out the way that I, laid down in bed my first 3 months in the opportunity and go, this is going to turn into the this and the that and blah, 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 blah. Somebody should have come right to me and go, no, it won't. But believe me, it'll be 100 times better. It'll be 100 times better than you could ever imagine. And here I am. I'm wiping my daughter's butt after she just took a dump. And I could not be happier in my life. Every little moment led me to where I'm at today. And I'm so grateful for the people that extended those opportunities when I didn't have them. And so why do you think I built a community over a mentorship?
Right. Real quick, I know I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I am curious too, like, was it the fact that it just got you out of the house type of thing? Or like, cause like
basically,
yeah. Okay. That's what I was curious about. Like,
not so much. I'm a pretty active guy. So like, I don't get like laying around playing video games. When I play video games, I'm doing it for fun, not like because I'm trying to pass time. Right. Mm-hmm. And what it was just having somebody to talk to about anything other than what I just went through. Mm-hmm. Anything other. And when people are like, oh, you need to uncover the trauma and you need to deep dive. No, you don't. Shut the hell up. Get over your damn self.
I so feel that, like, just with other things, but keep going.
It's like, guys, okay, it's important to face some of the trauma, but like people spend their whole effing life hanging on this trauma and going to like therapists and stuff. It's like, no, the reason why you're struggling in life is because you're bored. Maybe you have a chemical imbalance, which I understand, but the vast majority of people I meet that are like, I have trauma for being a blah, blah. Dude, get over yourself. You're not that important. Make everything about everybody else but yourself, and you'll forget about yourself and you'll forget about your trauma. So how do you overcome your trauma? Help other people overcome theirs and shut the hell up. My wife all the time, she's like, man, you could complain a lot more about all the things that happen to you. I was like, yeah, but you know what my job is? Here's my job. Do your job and shut the hell up. I say this all the time. I don't complain. You'll never hear me complain. Inside my house, man, I never complain. Oh my gosh. There was this joke, right? It was a stand-up comedian. He's like, man, the second you think you're significant, zoom out and look at the universe.
Right.
Zoom out. You are nothing. You are worthless. Okay, the second I realize I'm worthless in that regard, then I can get over myself and go, oh, dude, who cares about my trauma? Nobody cares about my trauma. All right, so if nobody cares about it, then why am I worrying about it? All right, cool. That. Over it, done, moving on, right? People are just so involved in their stupid feelings and they have nothing going on. You're bored. You're effing bored. Go help somebody else overcome their trauma. You'll get over yours.
I love it. I mean, honestly, I totally feel that in the sense of the best way I think to get over a bad day is do something for somebody else. Always. Like I literally always like I literally have this thing now where if I'm having just a terrible day, I'm like, all right, you're going to donate $500 to charity. That's happening. Cause like your day, what you were talking about at the beginning of this podcast of like, how much would you pay for a day back? Right. In my head, everything. So how much would you pay to turn one shitty day into a good day? Right.
At least $500.
At least 500. Yeah, exactly. At least $500. Right.
Yeah. I love that.
So it's something I've been doing, and it literally immediately snaps me out of it. It's another law of the universe. Right.
You want to know how I got my kids to stop crying?
Yeah. Tell me.
Here's how I did it. I don't even have to do anything. I go to Target, I go to Walmart, I go to like Disneyland, and I hear some stupid ass kid crying. And I go to my kids, I go, you guys hear that kid? You hear that kid? They're like, yeah. I go, that's what you sound like when you cry.
That's so funny. I'm keeping that.
And I go, do you want to sound? I'm like, he's a knucklehead, right? And they're like, yeah, he's a knucklehead. I go, that's what you sound like when you cry.
That's so funny.
And then the last time Asher ever cried, I remember the exact Target on Southern and Gilbert, kid crying 3 aisles over in the toys section. I go, you hear that kid? He goes, yeah. I go, he's a knucklehead, right? And he goes, yeah. And I go, that's what you sound like when you cry. And then I just let it marinate. And then I just did this to Corbin the other day, and it was like, she just dropped. She was like, wow, I really do sound like that. So here's the same thing, guys. Have you ever heard anybody else complain? Have you ever heard anybody else talk about how hard their life is and then go, wow, you're so right, man. Your life is so hard and blah, 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 blah. Or is it like, shut the hell up?
Right.
For me, it's shut the hell up. So I'm like, why would I complain? I'm just going to sound like you. Right. You know, the reason I never drank ever in my life, I've never drank in my life.
Because you're Mormon.
No. Got a lot of friends. My wife is Mormon. She'll have a glass of wine from time to time. There's a lot of people that drink that are Mormon. They're just not supposed to. I've never drank before because Tyler Korth, his brother, Brian Korth, I was in 6th grade hanging out in their basement, and Brian Korth, his older brother, basically stole wine from somebody or whatever, and he was drunk. And the way he was behaving and his breath and the way he was just acting like a different version of himself, I was like, yeah, I don't want to have anything to do with that. And it's like scarred me. Nothing my parents could have ever said or done to me could have ever convinced me to never drink more than Brian Korth taught me to never drink.
Love it.
It's weird. And so people go, oh man, you're Mormon. I was like, yeah, I'm Mormon. I'm into, you know, Jello and pudding and ice cream and stuff. Like I'm very Mormon. But man, and I don't have anything against drinking. I'm just saying I was so fearful of looking like that I chose not to drink.
Right.
So again, it's the same thing with anything else. I picture what I want and I go, okay, well, that person doesn't do that. I'm not going to do that. That's it. It's technical, a lot more technical than what most people would really want to hear from me. Like, oh, you're basically checking a box. Yeah, I'm checking a box. I don't want to look like that, sound like that, do that. I'm just not going to do it.
Yep. I love it. All right. I'm going to ask you one last question. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but it's the question I always end the podcast with, which is, if you were to go back to Pace, right when this can either be right when you did your first entrepreneurial adventure or like when you just started getting into real estate investing, whichever one you think is a better answer. What would you tell him now, knowing everything that you know now?
Okay, great question. Ooh, I love it. Oh, it's so interesting. So I'm like very into like video games. I really am into video games. I just haven't played them in 10 years. Right? I love video games. I love solving problems in the video games. I love the creativity. I love the storytelling that they have. I really love video games. And when I came home from my mission, and I started playing Halo 2.
Oh, I love that game. By the way, I used to play video games, and when I'm at a friend's house and they want to play, I play.
Me too. I love it.
Yeah.
But here's what I did. Remember the LAN parties that everybody used to have with Halo 2, like physically
yeah.
meet up?
Yep.
I used to have a LAN party at my property. I went out and I bought 16 TVs for my garage. I put the LAN together.
Wow.
Oh, bro, I was
serious gamer. That is
serious
some
gamer.
serious stuff.
Serious gamer. And we would game Friday night from like 5 o'clock at night till 5 o'clock at night the next day. Like 24 hours Halo.
I love that.
And my wife at the time was like cool with it. Right? Cool with it.
Wait, this was when you were married? How old were you?
I was 21, 22. I'm Mormon, bro.
Okay.
We get married early. We trying to get laid, you know?
Gotcha. Okay.
Not only did I not drink, I also wasn't sleeping around until I got married. So that's what Mormons do. It's like, anyway, so you get it. So my wife at the time was cool with it, but now I'm saying this out loud. I almost am like, I have a whole nother tangent I can go on, but I'm not going to go on it.
Not to interrupt you, but Daniel's down.
Yo. So here's what I would go back and tell myself. I would tell myself, if let's say I had 1 minute to tell myself this, okay? I would have ran to myself and I would have been like, you'll never make another dollar in your life without another human being. The quality of your human beings around you determines the quantity of the money you make. Look at the human beings that you're hanging out with and look at the activities you're doing. Yes, it's fun. This is great, but it's completely self-defeating. You're spending 24 hours nonstop sleeping, hanging out with people that ultimately 2 of them will drive home drunk and kill them, not because of my parties, but like later down the road, they ended up dying because they were going home drunk. That's the quality of the people you're hanging out with. And all I could think about even back then, I was like, I want to make $100,000 a year. I want to make $100,000 a year. I want to make $100,000 a year. That's what I cared about 20 years ago. Right. Yet I wasn't hanging out with anybody that was making $100,000 a year.
Right.
So for me, I would say immediately upgrade the quality of the people that you're around, and it will upgrade the quantity of money you make. Go find people making $200,000 a year and spend time with them. That's 100% what I would have told myself. And then if I had any extra time, I would have said, nobody cares, work harder, learn how to raise capital, learn creative finance, and make sure you tell everybody to never buy Androids. So nobody ever in this world ever buys Androids.
And invest in Bitcoin. That's the last one too, right? I love it. Pace, you're amazing. I want you to let you know, you not only helped me become a better real estate investor and like also help me like obviously make the money and help me get the audience. I mean, to be real, this is the most viewers I've ever had live. We have 29 viewers live right
nice.
now, guys. I want to say thank you guys so much for coming on. It's awesome. People show up for you because they love you, right? But I also want to say publicly in front of everybody, like you made me a better man, or you make me a better man every day, because I see where I want to go, like in a lot of ways, in like maybe not in every single way, but as like a human being, in the sense of like, okay, this is what it means to be a leader, right? Like I would say probably, if I've thought about it, probably you, Jamil, and my dad are like the 3 people as men who like I see as like, okay, this is what it means to be a man, and like a good man, and somebody who's going to lead the community, do good in the world, and like how you should live life in general. So I want to say thank you. Like, because I don't think I've ever told you that.
You're a wonderful leader. Your podcast is amazing. There was a point in time where I had 5 viewers, then 7, then 20, then 100, then 500, whatever. Sarah Marati says, she's like, so we're not learning about how to crush in 2023. Actually, we're learning how to crush in life.
Yeah.
You know, like if you want to focus on 2023, that's cute. I ain't trying to focus on 2023. However, Sarah, if you want to learn how to crush it in 2023, go back to my last like 7 YouTube videos. I did a whole series on about 2023. Go watch those. Right?
Let's plug it real quick. Let's plug it. What, like, where are the people going to see you, Pace? For the people who don't, for the one person watching this who's like my friend from high school who doesn't know who you are, where do you want me to send the people right now?
You just go to YouTube.
Just look up Pace Morby on YouTube, right?
Yeah. Wow. Here, I'll find a video for it. I mean, give me sharing capabilities. I'll find you guys a little video real quick. Something for Sarah, just for Sarah. I'll give Sarah a video.
You were the,
Yeah. Hold on. I'll pull
I
it up.
can, okay. You know
We'll
more
do
than me
this.
on
We'll
this.
do this for Sarah. Okay. So here we go. By the way, shout out 107,000 subscribers. That's pretty
Let's
dope.
go.
That's a big deal, bro. We went up
Let's
like
go.
10% in like a week. It was cool.
Dude,
Okay.
you've been blowing up, man. I mean, I remember when I joined SUBTO, you had like 25K followers on Instagram or something. Now, what are you at? Like 200K? Something
I
like
don't
that?
know. I don't even
175?
look at Instagram. Such an interesting thing. So check this out right here, Sarah. Okay. Best way to invest in real estate is interest rates rise. This video is so dope. I actually break down, like, I did a free golden ticket event. What the heck? Oh, this is me calling a seller for Jamil. So I sit there and I give you all the strategy. I break it down, talking to a bunch of people, and it's great. So there you go. That's where I would go. You want to learn how to strategize in 2023? That's the video.
Yeah, or if you just want to learn exactly how to make a multi-million-dollar business, just go watch his whole YouTube channel, right? Like guys, he was talking about it earlier. He gives it all for free, right? SUBTO is not about I don't even think it's really about creative financing. It's about what we were just talking about, in the sense of, I can go not only to Pace, I've got like goats like in the game. Like I have Uncle Lonza is a person who I consider like my mentor, like my, when Pace has too much to do, mentor, right? Like he was the one who was holding my hand back in the day. But like,
that's what a good leader does. Finds the next leader in line. And look at you, bro. You're one of the next leaders in line.
Right. We're
guys,
getting
give
there.
Jonah some freaking love. And if I were you guys, I'd put on your vision board to be on this freaking podcast. This is a great podcast. I would say that talking about fears is one of the greatest topics you could talk about in real estate. I think this podcast is going to be one of the biggest ones. I bet you will surpass Wholesale Hotline at some point in terms of viewership.
That would be wild. Let's see about that. For me to do that, I'd have to give more than you. I'd have to be able to give more than you three combined. So we'll see if I get there. But
I think you got it.
I will. I love you, dude. You're
the best.
You're amazing. You're an amazing human being. I appreciate you so much for coming on. Guys, follow him on YouTube for the one person who doesn't know who this guy is.
Hey, guys, do me a favor. Tell your mom to follow me.
Tell your mom to DM Pace.
I want to know your mom's Halo 2 tag name. I want to know your mom's name. Okay. I was Nixon. I don't know why I thought Nixon was the cool. Do you remember your Halo name? For Halo 2, I was like 12. I was like maybe like 10 or 11. I was pretty damn young. Okay, so here's the greatest name I ever saw on Halo 2. We're gonna get dirty on this, okay?
Amazing. Get me banned off YouTube. Let's go.
You won't be. It's so good. So you remember Rumpelstiltskin, the childhood like story? This guy had his name on Halo was Rumpled Foreskin.
Incredible guys. If you're looking for more content like that, follow our boy Pace Morby on
Shout
YouTube,
out to you guys.
Instagram. Shout out to everyone here, guys. Thank you so much for coming on. Next week we've got Caleb Christopher, a great guy as well, great TC guy, amazing SUBTO student. It's going to be amazing. I appreciate all of you. Like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and follow Pace. He is doing incredible things, and I will see y'all next week.
Later, guys.